We are live. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Solo Budget Live. Today, I'm starting a new series, and this series is called Kitchen Table Conversations. Kitchen Table Conversations, and the things we're going to talk about. It's really I think the name of the series pretty much says it all. It's the kind of conversations that we have with a friend or that we have with a sister um, around the meal in the kitchen. We're cooking together and we're just talking about life and the things that we are going through. So that's why I decided to name this series Kitchen Table Conversations. And we're going to have one live around that subject once a week. Once a week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope also that a lot of people join with their comments and that we can exchange our experience and our knowledge, etc., and give advice if we want to. Hello, everyone. My name is Sikolo. If this is the first time that you join one of my lives, and I am the creator of the Solo Budget, and the Solo Budget is a channel for people who live on one income, and that one income has to do a whole lot of things, and we're just trying to make that income stretch as so don't hesitate to subscribe. If it is the first time that you join and you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Always feel free to leave a comment. Always feel free to leave advice. This is a place where we share. I am not a financial advisor. I do not give financial advice, but this is a place where we just kind of all share our knowledge. So the subject that we're discussing today is, what are you pretending that you can afford? And I posted it early enough. I posted the thumbnail early. It's been up for a couple of days because I wanted to give the audience an opportunity to think about it. And I needed time to think about it. I've been thinking about it for the past 3 days. Like, what am I pretending that I can afford? Is there anything in my life that I am pretending that I can afford? And why am I doing that? Really? Why am I doing that? So if that's something that you can relate to, please stick around. Don't don't feel like you cannot participate. You can participate. Leave your comments, ask your questions, and answer some of the questions that we have that we're going to answer today. And so a lot of us, I don't know if I can say a lot of us, I don't know if that's going to be true, but I can only talk about my experience that it is true that at different times in my life, I felt the pressure. I felt the pressure to participate in something that financially I knew that I couldn't. I just couldn't afford it. And I felt that pressure to participate, and I did for many years. And maybe it had to do with, hi, hello, Avery. Maybe it had to do with being young. Maybe, when we're younger, we don't. I'm in my 40s now, and I think when we're younger, we have a harder time saying no, especially when we are with our friends, when we are with people that we want acceptance from. And it's hard to say no. We don't want to be the weird one, we don't want to be the strange one. And for me, even when I think about that time in my life, I think that was a time when I was 19, I was 21, especially in my early 20s. And I spent my early 20s here in the US. I was new in the US in my early 20s. And there is already, being at that age, you already want to be accepted by your peers. But when you are at that age and you are also new, right? You're at that age and you're also new in a country, you're new to a culture. It makes it even harder. It makes it even harder to say no, because you think, well, this is how things are done here, and I don't want to be even more different than I am already. I don't want to, be even more noticeable than I am already. And that is something that I feel like a lot of us, we have fallen into at some point. Let me know if you can relate. And if you have a story that you want to share, go ahead and share that story with everyone. I read all the comments, guys. I read all the comments, and it takes a long time. It takes a long time. Some of you guys have so much. There's so much that you know, and hello from Russia. Hello. Hi. So, some of you have so much knowledge, so much experience, and you leave, long comments. And I take the time to read all of them, and I try to respond as many as you can. But go ahead and leave your story if you have a personal story that you want to share about things that we pretend that we can afford, but really we know deep inside. We know that we can't. We know that we can't. And that has it has happened to me. It has happened to me. So I'd like to know, like, what's one expense you kept paying because you didn't want people to know that you were struggling? What is one thing that you kept buying, that you kept paying for? You knew you couldn't afford it, but you just didn't want people to know that you couldn't afford it. And if you don't mind sharing, leave it in the comments, and we can talk about it. For me, I'm going to say that it was, what could it be? I've talked many times here about my car, buying a car that I couldn't afford, but I'm not going to mention the car here because I didn't go in thinking that I couldn't afford the car. I thought I would. So it wasn't so much to impress people, or it wasn't so much because I wanted to hide that I was struggling. So even though I've talked about this, I made a whole video about how I lost my car and it was repossessed because I really couldn't afford it. You can go on to my channel and watch the video. I tell the whole story. So that's not going to be my answer. My answer is going to be, guys, I keep getting disconnected. I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry. Know that I will always come back, okay? On my end, I don't know if it's happening also on your end. Let me know. I think it is, but I will come back and we'll be here until 7:30. Okay? I don't know why that's happening. Maybe I need to not use my phone anymore. I need to find a different way to connect, because I don't like that. I want you to stay. All right. So I was going to say that for me, I'm going to say that it was eating out. Eating out is something that I I did a lot, but I really couldn't afford to eat out, but I did it because I didn't want people to know that I was struggling. I'm going to say eating out. It's not where I am from, and I'm from Central Africa. Where I'm from, we do go out to eat. Most of the time, no. People eat at home, and you invite your friends and they come and eat at home, or you go to their house and you share a meal. But we do have restaurants, and especially on weekends. Oh, hi, Miriam. And especially on weekends, people do go out. So it's not that it's something that I wasn't familiar with, but we don't have that culture of eating outside of the house so much as the American culture. It's out. It's here. It's a way of life. It's just a thing, right? You leave your house, you stop at Starbucks. You leave your house, you stop at McDonald's. and then, lunch break, you order something from Uber Eats. This is it's part of the culture, and it's part of living here, and it's something that I wasn't accustomed to. It's something that I wasn't accustomed to, how much people eat out. And that is, being a college student, being young, not having a big budget, being a college student, and definitely not having a big budget. It wasn't something that I could afford. There was always food at home. I was never hungry. I wasn't going hungry. There was always food at home. What I didn't have was the money to do the 2, 3 McDonald's, stops at McDonald's, or to do the stop at Starbucks all the time, because, we're going to do a study group and let's get together and study. Great. I do want to get together and study because I want to pass the test, because I want to pass the class, because I want to get my degree. So I do want to get together and study. But it's okay, so, let's stop at Starbucks. Let's do it at Starbucks. And then you're at Starbucks, so you got to order the drink and you got to order the food. And next thing you know, that study session has turned into 25. So I didn't have money for that. I didn't have money for that expense. But I also didn't want people to know that I did not have money for that expense. I didn't, because I felt like if I said, not today, once, it'd be okay, but you can't say not today all the time. I felt like that would be weird. I felt like, people would think I'm strange, or that I'm difficult, or that I'm cheap, or and I didn't want to lose my friends. I didn't want to lose my study buddies. I wanted to be accepted. So I'm going to pick eating out with coworkers, eating out with friends, eating out with classmates. That is one expense that for a very long time, for many years, I kept paying, simply because I didn't want people to know that I was struggling financially. And I don't really know if I can call it struggling financially, because, like I said, there wasn't a day that I didn't have food at home. There was always food at home to eat. It's just that there wasn't any money for all the Starbucks runs and Burger King and the fast food. There wasn't money for that. So let me know if you can relate. Let me know if there is something that you want to share. Please do leave it in the comments. I'm very interested to know if this aspect, this time of my life, is something that a lot of people have gone through as well. All right. So next one, what was the hardest expense to admit you could not afford anymore? One expense that you had a hard time, that I had a hard time admitting that I couldn't afford anymore. So maybe I could afford it at the beginning, but then later on I couldn't. What would be yours? Tell me what yours would be. I would like to know what would be mine. Let's see. These days I am a lot more careful when it comes to getting involved in buying things. I do really take the time to make sure that I can afford it that day, that I'll be able to afford it next month, that I will be able to afford it next year. I've becoming quite skilled at making that decision, and that's good for me, because I believe that's a superpower. I believe that's a superpower. I am not an avenger. I will not save, but I think it's a superpower. So what would it be for me? What would we do? Thank you for sticking around. For those who are sticking around, I think that tomorrow we're going to have another live. We have another live tomorrow at 7, and I'm gonna try to use something else, not this phone, because maybe it's the phone. My first guess, I'm gonna say it's the phone, and that's why I keep getting disconnected. Tomorrow, I'm gonna try not to use the phone. I will use my laptop and see if the same thing happens. But I hope that on your end, it's better. I hope it's better on your end, because on my end I keep having to reconnect. Like every minute or so, like I keep having to reconnect, and then I lose you guys. So tomorrow, I'll try something else. But yes, something that I had to admit that I couldn't afford anymore. Um, that I couldn't afford anymore. So I don't, I'm thinking about this in terms of, when I thought about the discussion, when I thought about this discussion, I thought about it in terms of money, right? What I can't afford in terms of money. Now, to answer this question, I'm going to understand I can afford anymore in a different way. And I don't know if it makes sense. I hope it's going to make sense, and I hope you understand. And let me know if it applies or not, if that's a way I can answer that question. If you don't know this about me, I'm going to say it again. I am an immigrant. I was not born in the US. I did not grow up in the US. I moved to the US when I was 19 years old. It was a long time ago, but I did not grow up here, and that means that I come from a different culture. Part of my, my life, and maybe I'm gonna say my lineage. It's a French word, is it, or is it an English word? But I am the first person of my descendants to move to the US, right? Everybody after me will probably live here, but I am the first person to come into this country. And I do like my life here. I wasn't always here. I moved here, and then I moved out, and I went to live in another country for a decade, and then I came back again. What I've realized after living outside of my country for so long, for um, for almost 2 decades now, what I've realized, I went back home last year. I went back home last year, and it really struck me last. I realized last year that I cannot afford to move back home. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, I cannot afford to move back home. And I used to, you know, it's this. Ask ask if you are an immigrant, you probably understand this. Even if you are an immigrant somewhere in another country, you probably understand it. If your parents are immigrants, you probably understand it. There is always this hope. There is always this thing that, oh, I'm here and I'm working here, I'm saving money, and back home, I am going to, build a house. And when I'm done working here, I'm going to go back home and I'm just going to chill. Right? I'm gonna go back home and I'm just gonna chill. We all have all like first immigrant. We all have this thing because this is not we were not born here. We didn't grow up here, and we all have this thing that back home we're gonna build a house. Right? Back home we're gonna buy a land. We're gonna build a house. And then we're gonna be okay once we're done working here. Once we're done working in France and saving our euros, once we're done working in Australia and saving our money, we're going to move back home. We're going to have our home, have a house, and we're just going to sit there and chill. And that is the dream that I left home with. All right, it is a dream I left home with. I was going to get an education. I was going to do well. I was going to save my money. I was going to build a house. And then I was going to go home and be there. And I realized that I cannot afford to move back home. I mean, I can barely afford to live here. I can barely afford to live here, to be honest. So I cannot afford to live back home. No, I do not have the fund to buy land. No, I do not have the funds to build a house. No, I do not have enough money to just be home and chilling and, and volunteering and helping all the poor children in the neighborhood. I would love to have that life. And I thought when I was 19, 20, I thought, I don't know, maybe foolishly or out of lack of experience, I thought that at this point in my life, in my 40s, I would be able to do that. I am so far from being able to do that. Like it is a dream, and it's not even like a dream that's close to me. It's a dream that feels like it is 1,000. So that's something that I cannot afford. But I'd like to know. You let me know. In your case, what is an expense that you cannot afford anymore? I hope I understood that question. I hope I understood the question and that I answered the question. But yeah, definitely. And that's really sad for me to admit, but it is the reality. That is the truth. I thought that by now I would have, I'm not saying that I thought I'd be a millionaire. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that just, after having worked for over 2 decades, I thought that I would be just a little bit in a better situation than where I am now, but yeah, I am not. I'm not. And sometimes, I'm in bed and I can't fall asleep and I just wonder, like, how long am I gonna have to work? Like, am I one of those who are going to have to work until, I'm 75 or 85, or will I be somebody who can never afford to retire? That's scary. That is scary to think about. And I hope not. And I don't. I hope it's not gonna be your case as well. I don't wish that on anyone. I don't wish that on anyone. What did you stop paying for that you don't even miss anymore? Something that I stopped paying for and that I don't miss at all. And that I know, immediately I know, fast food. I stop paying for fast food and I don't miss it at all. At all. You will not. I mean, I'm not saying that 100% of the time. Like, I never ever go to like, a McDonald's drive-through. That's not what I'm saying. Because like when I go on a road trip, it's just so convenient to go by the drive-through and get something and keep driving, right? And keep driving instead of demanding that we stop at a restaurant and finding a restaurant or finding a grocery store. Like, it's just so much practical, like on a road trip, to just stop at McDonald's or any fast food drive through. So, but what I'm saying is that just in my regular life, every day, yeah, you will not catch me at a fast food. No. And if I stop, if you see me at one, it's because I took someone, and I will not pay for fast food. It used to be when I was in my early 20s, I think. Thank you. Thank you, Allison. Hi. See, I'm starting to recognize you, Allison, because this it's not the first time that you connect. So I know your name already. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to see you. I hope you had a good day. Welcome. So I will not go to a fast food. I will not buy anything. Back then, I say 20 years ago, maybe back then it was economical, but maybe back then it was economical, but it was affordable. I'm trying to say affordable. But these days, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think the quality of the food has gone down, and it was never super great. And I think the amount of food that you get has gone down, and it was never even that much. And I also think that the cost of it has gone up so much that it no longer makes it worth it. I think it no longer makes it worth it. So something that I stopped paying for and that I don't even miss is definitely fast food. definitely. And I'm glad that I stopped paying for fast food. It is not the best for my health. The older I get, the more I have to be careful about what I put in my body. I am not like super duper health conscious. I'm not gonna say that I am that person. I am not. But I try to do the very basics that we have to do, which is, eat more fruits, eat more vegetables, and don't eat fried food all the time. Don't eat out all the time because you can't control, how much oil they use, and you can't control how much salt is in it, and what goes into your food. So those basic things, I try to always have them in mind and live by them, especially now I'm older. My body doesn't digest things as well as it used to. So fast foods now, that's that's a no-no. That's a no-no for me. And if someone is pretending they can afford something right now, what advice would you give them? I'd like to know, if you don't mind putting your advice in the comment section. What advice would you give to somebody who is pretending that they can afford something, but really they cannot? And you're just kind of watching them getting deeper and deeper into debt, and getting those things that they just can't afford. What would you say to that person? I I don't know what I would say. I don't know what I would say. But I'd like to know what you would say. I think I'm going to need a little more time to be able to answer that question. I think I'm going to need to think about it tonight. And tomorrow, what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to put my answer in my community section. Let me think about it, because I don't know. If someone is pretending that they can afford something right now, what advice would you give them? I don't know. I know that, and the reason I'm really taking a long time thinking about it, it's because, it's something that has to be said. I feel like it's something that has to be said gently. You really have to think about the words that you're going to use. It's like an intervention, right? At this point, it's like an intervention. And you do have to take the time to think about the words that you are going to use and how you're going to say it, and make sure that you say the right things. And that to me is a bit harder to come up with right now. So I don't know yet. But I'm going to think about it overnight. And tomorrow I'm going to put my answer in the community section on my channel. So go to the community section. I post there quite often. I post there very often. And that's where I'm going to put my answer tomorrow. But I would like to know what your answer is. So you can either leave your answer here as a comment, or you can go to the community section and you can leave your answer there. And the post, you can leave your answer there. And I'll read all of them. I will. I will. So if really there's one thing that I've learned, is that the fastest way to stay broke is by trying to impress everyone. It's by trying to impress everyone, by trying to pretend that you are not. By trying to pretend that you're not. Because back then, when I was going to all of the fast food stops, and I was doing all of the Starbucks stops, all of the Starbucks shopping and stuff, it was very hard on my wallet. It was very hard on my wallet. I always had some money with me because I was raised that way. Like, you always want to have some cash on you because you never know, you might need it. So I always had some cash on me for emergencies, but every time I ended up spending them for coffees, and I don't even drink coffee, but it was a thing. And so that was to me, yes. And I was always broke. It was very hard on my wallet. It was very, very hard on my wallet. So definitely the fastest way to stay broke is trying to look like you're not. Trying to look like you're not. You're gonna be very broke, and worse than that, you're going to stay broke. You're going to stay broke. And most of us, we are carrying financial responsibilities that are not necessarily visible on our face, right? We all know what financial responsibilities that we have, and we know how heavy they are. Even for me, who comes here and have this channel, and I so openly talk about the things that I face, but I still don't talk about everything. I don't talk about everything. I don't share everything. So most people are carrying financial pressures that we can't see, that we don't know. We don't know about. We don't know about, and they're heavy, right? They're heavy. All right. So this is going to be it for today. It's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for joining. This is a new series. It's a new series that I'm starting, and it's called Kitchen Table Conversations. And my plan is to have one every week. So have one every week. So this week I am connecting every day, right? There's going to be a live. So Monday and Tuesday we had a live. Wednesday is a day off. No lives on Wednesdays because I'm still at work at this. I'm not at work. I'm not at work. I'm at a meeting at this time. So I can't do a live on Wednesdays. But Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, there are lives at 7 p.m. So feel free to join. And tomorrow we'll talk about something else. Feel free to join tomorrow at 7. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do consider subscribing. Check out my other videos. I just posted an extra video today. I post on Sundays, but today's Thursday, and there is a video up. It went up an hour and a half ago. Please go check it out. And I will also be live on Saturday at 10 a.m. I'll be live on Saturday at 10 a.m. So please join, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Have a great dinner. I hope the food is going to be wonderful. Have a great dinner. Have a wonderful evening, and have a good day tomorrow. Have a good day tomorrow, wherever you are going, whatever you are going to do. I wish you to have an excellent day tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Take care.